I thought I knew my daughter-in-law. For 15 years, she'd called me mom, hugged me at family dinners, sent me birthday cards with handwritten notes. But that Tuesday morning, when my phone rang at 7:30, I learned how wrong I'd been. "Mom, it's Jessica. I need to tell you something." Her voice was different. Flat, like she was reading from a script. "Of course, sweetheart. Is everything okay? Is Marcus all right?" "Marcus is fine. We're both fine. Actually, we're better than fine." She paused, and I heard her take a breath. "Mom, we've made a decision. We're moving to Denver. Marcus got an incredible job offer, and we're leaving next week." My heart sank a little, but I smiled anyway. Denver was far, but my son deserved opportunities. "Oh, that's wonderful news. I'm so happy for you both. I'll miss you terribly, but—" "There's more," she interrupted. "We need to liquidate some assets quickly. You know, for the move, the down payment on our new house. So we've decided to sell the cabin." "The cabin." My hands went cold. "The cabin? You mean our cabin? The one at Lake Harmony?" "Well, technically it's Marcus's cabin now. You signed it over to him 3 years ago, remember? For tax purposes?" My lawyer had suggested it. Marcus was my only child, and the cabin would be his eventually anyway. It seemed simpler. I'd trusted them. "Jessica, that cabin. Your father-in-law and I built it with our own hands. We spent 32 summers there. Every anniversary, every birthday, I know it's sentimental for you, but sentimentality doesn't pay bills, Mom. The market is hot right now. We've already had it appraised. We're looking at $450,000, maybe more. We found a buyer through Marcus's colleague. They're willing to close in 10 days. $450,000 for the place where Robert proposed to me, where we taught Marcus to swim, where Robert and I danced on the dock under the stars 2 weeks before his heart attack. Jessica, can we please talk about this? Maybe I could buy it from you, or we could work out some kind of arrangement where—" "Mom, we don't have time for complicated arrangements. This is business. The papers are already drawn up. We just need to finalize a few things. We thought you'd be happy for us." "Happy?" She thought I'd be happy. "Does Marcus know you're calling me?" "Of course. This was a joint decision. He's right here, actually. Do you want to talk to him?" Before I could answer, I heard my son's voice in the background. "Just tell her we'll visit when we can. We've got that meeting in 20 minutes. He didn't even want to talk to me himself. "Listen, Mom, I have to go. I'll email you the details. Oh, and we'll need you to clear out any personal items you left there. We need it empty for the new owners. You have until Friday. Friday. 3 days. Jessica, please. I really have to go. Love you." The line went dead. I sat there in my kitchen, the morning sun streaming through the window. Robert had installed himself, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not sadness, not even anger, something colder, clearer. I had trusted them with my past, and they were selling it like a used car. But here's the thing about being 67 years old. You learn a few things, you make a few plans, and sometimes you're smarter than people give you credit for. I picked up my phone and made a call. "Gerald, it's Hazel Thompson. Yes, it's been too long. Listen, I need to ask you about that document we prepared, the irrevocable trust. Yes, that one. Is everything still in order?" Gerald Hendricks had been Robert's college roommate before he became our family attorney. He'd handled Robert's estate when he passed, and he'd handled something else 3 years ago. Something I'd done quietly, without fanfare. "Perfect," I said. "I think I'm going to need you to explain a few things to my son very soon." The next morning, I drove up to Lake Harmony. It was a 2-hour drive, and every mile brought back memories. The first time Robert and I had seen the property, it was just a plot of overgrown land with a view. We were 34 years old, idealistic and broke, but we'd saved enough for the down payment. We'd spent 2 summers building that cabin mostly ourselves. Robert did the framing, I did the finishing work. We'd laughed when the first wall wasn't quite square, cried when we finally got the fireplace working, celebrated when we spent our first night in our own little piece of heaven. Marcus took his first steps on that cabin's front porch. We'd had Thanksgiving there every year for 28 years. When Robert got sick, he'd asked me to take him there one last time. We'd sat on the dock, his hand in mine, and he'd said, "Promise me you'll always protect this place, Hazel. It's our story. I'd promised. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Everything was exactly as I'd left it last month. The quilts my mother had made, still folded on the couch, the photos on the mantel, Robert's fishing rods in the corner, our wedding photo above the fireplace. I spent 3 hours there, not packing, just remembering. I made coffee in the old percolator Robert loved. I sat in his chair. I walked down to the dock and watched the water. This wasn't just a piece of real estate. This was the geography of my soul. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Showing the cabin to the buyers tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please make sure everything is tidy. Thanks. Not a question. A directive. I texted back. I'll be there. That evening, Marcus finally called. Mom, Jessica told me you were upset about the cabin. Upset. Such a small word for such a large betrayal. Marcus, that cabin is your legacy. It's where you learned who you were. Don't you remember? Your first sleepover with Tommy Patterson. The time you caught that massive pike and you were so proud. Your high school graduation party. Mom, I'm 41 years old. Those are nice memories, but they're just memories. This is about our future. Jessica and I have dreams too, you know. We deserve to build something of our own. On the ashes of what your father and I built. He sighed, that exasperated sigh I'd heard too many times lately. You're being dramatic. It's a building, Mom. A structure. We need the money. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but this is reality. Did you know that your father took out a second mortgage on our house to finish that cabin? Did you know we ate rice and beans for 6 months so we could afford the roof? Did you know that's where I scattered half his ashes? Silence. Mom, did you know any of that, Marcus? Or did you just see a number on an appraiser's report? That's not fair. You're right. What's fair is selling your mother's heart for $450,000. You signed it over to me. Legally, it's mine. I'm sorry you're hurt, but the decision is made. The line went dead for the second time in 2 days. I sat in the dark living room of the house Robert and I had bought 43 years ago, and I let myself feel it all. The grief, the betrayal, the loneliness. For 15 minutes, I let it wash over me. Then I stood up, wiped my eyes, and got to work. The next day at 1:45, I was at the cabin when they arrived. Marcus and Jessica drove up in their new Tesla, followed by another couple in a Range Rover. The buyers, presumably. They looked about 30, wealthy, probably saw the cabin as an investment property or a weekend getaway. Mom, Marcus said, clearly surprised. I didn't think you'd actually come. You told me to tidy up. I wanted to make sure everything was perfect. Jessica barely looked at me. These are the Andersons. They're very interested in the property. The Andersons smiled politely. They seemed nice enough. It wasn't their fault they were buying something that shouldn't be for sale. We walked through the cabin. Jessica pointed out features like she was a real estate agent. Original hardwood floors. Stone fireplace. The dock was rebuilt just 5 years ago. The property includes 200 feet of lake frontage. Mrs. Anderson touched the quilt on the couch. This is charming. Very rustic. We'd probably modernize quite a bit, but the bones are good. Modernize it? I said quietly. Oh yes, Mr. Anderson said. Knock out this wall to open up the space. Replace the fireplace with something more contemporary. Maybe add a second story. They wanted to tear apart what Robert and I had built with our hands. Marcus shot me a warning look. The property is sold as is, but yes, it has great potential for renovation. Jessica checked her watch. Should we talk numbers? I know you were interested in the 450 range. Actually, I said, before we discuss numbers, there's something everyone should know. Marcus turned to me. Mom, please don't. 3 years ago, when I signed the cabin over to Marcus, I did it as part of an estate planning strategy. My attorney, Gerald Hendricks, suggested it. What Marcus doesn't know is that I simultaneously created an irrevocable trust. The room went very still. The cabin was transferred to the Harmony Family Trust, with Marcus as the nominal beneficiary, but the trust has very specific terms. It can never be sold, never be mortgaged, and never be transferred except to Marcus's children when they reach the age of 30. Jessica's face went white. That's not. You can't. I can, and I did. Gerald has all the documentation. The trust was properly filed and executed. It's completely legal and binding. Marcus stared at me. You tricked me. No, sweetheart. I protected what your father and I built. I protected your inheritance. I protected your children's inheritance, even though you don't have children yet. We don't want children, Jessica snapped. We want the money. Well, there is no money. There never was. The cabin belongs to the trust, and the trust has one purpose: to preserve this place for future generations of our family. Mr. Anderson cleared his throat. I think we'll be going. Good luck with your family situation. The Andersons left quickly. Jessica was shaking with rage. You had no right. I had every right. I built it. I paid for it. And I made damn sure that no one could destroy it on a whim. Marcus looked at me like he'd never seen me before. How could you do this? How could I? How could you, Marcus? How could you sell the place where your father taught you to be a man? Where we carved your initials into the dock post when you were 6? Where I told you your father had died? That's emotional manipulation. No. That's memory. That's history. That's family. I took a breath. I'm 67 years old. Your father has been gone for 5 years. I don't have a lot left, Marcus, but I have this. And I'll be damned if I let anyone, even you, take it from me. Jessica grabbed her purse. This isn't over. We'll challenge this trust. We'll sue. Go ahead. Gerald assures me it's ironclad. By the time you finish challenging it, you'll have spent more on legal fees than you ever would have made from selling it. They left without another word. I watched their Tesla disappear down the winding road, and then I sat on the porch and cried. Not because I regretted what I'd done, because my son had become someone I didn't recognize. 2 weeks passed. Marcus didn't call. Jessica sent one text. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy. I was heartbroken. But I was also certain I'd done the right thing. Then, 3 weeks after the confrontation, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Marcus standing there alone, his hands in his pockets, his eyes red. Can I come in? We sat at the kitchen table. He looked at his hands for a long time. Jessica and I are separating. My heart broke all over again. Marcus, I'm so sorry. Don't be. It's been coming for a while. The cabin thing just made it clear. She wanted a lifestyle. I don't know what I wanted. He looked up at me. I wanted what you and Dad had, I think. But I didn't know how to build it. Your father and I weren't perfect. No, but you were real. You built things together. Actual things. A house, a cabin, a life. Jessica and I, we just bought things. We acquired. We never actually created anything. I reached across the table and took his hand. She said I had to choose, her or the cabin, and I realized, I don't even want the cabin, Mom. I mean, I do, but not to sell it. I want it to exist. I want to know it's there. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. I was so angry at you. I felt like you'd manipulated me, tricked me, treated me like a child, but you were protecting me from myself, weren't you? I was protecting what matters. And sometimes, sweetheart, we need protection from our own worst impulses. He nodded slowly. The Denver job fell through anyway. They rescinded the offer last week. Budget cuts. We would have moved across the country and sold everything for nothing. We sat in silence for a while. Can I ask you something? He said. When did you set up the trust? When did you know you needed to? The day you and Jessica came to me with the tax planning idea, I saw something in her eyes when she talked about the cabin's value. I hoped I was wrong, but I couldn't take the chance. You saw it before I did. I'm your mother. It's my job to see what you can't. He smiled a little, the first real smile I'd seen from him in months. Dad would have done the same thing, wouldn't he? Your father? He suggested it. In a dream I had a week after he died. He told me to protect Lake Harmony, no matter what. I thought I was going crazy, but Gerald said it was actually brilliant estate planning. Marcus laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Can we go up there this weekend? To the cabin? Just you and me? I'd like that very much. That Saturday, we drove up to Lake Harmony together. We didn't talk much on the way, but it was a comfortable silence, the silence of people who are finding their way back to each other. When we got there, Marcus walked straight to the dock and stood looking at the water. I learned to skip stones right here, he said. Dad must have shown me 100 times before I got it right. 137 times. I counted. He turned to me. Why did you count? Because that's what mothers do. We count the moments. We keep the score of joy. We spent the day there, just being. We didn't clean or organize or plan. We fished a little, cooked hot dogs on the old grill, sat on the porch as the sun set. As the sky turned purple and gold, Marcus said, "I'm going to have kids someday, Mom. I don't know with who or when, but I'm going to have them, and I'm going to bring them here. And I'm going to tell them about their grandfather and about the crazy grandmother who made sure they'd always have a place to come home to. I'm not crazy, I'm strategic." "You're both," he grinned. "That's why you're dangerous." We sat there until the stars came out, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. My son had been lost, but he was finding his way back, not to me exactly, but to himself, to the values his father and I had tried to teach him, to the understanding that some things matter more than their market value. A few months later, Marcus moved back to town. He got a job teaching at the community college, something he'd always talked about but never pursued. He started dating a woman named Claire, a librarian who loved old books and hiking. She was nothing like Jessica. And every few weeks, we'd drive up to Lake Harmony together, sometimes with Claire, sometimes just the two of us. We'd fix things that needed fixing. We'd sit on the dock. We'd remember. One evening, as we were packing up to leave, Marcus said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For being smarter than me. For seeing what I couldn't. For protecting our story." I hugged him tight. "That's what family does, sweetheart. We protect each other's stories, even when they don't know they need protecting." As we drove away that evening, I looked back at the cabin in my rearview mirror. It stood there solid and sure, just like it had for 40 years, just like it would for 40 more. Your father and I built it with our hands, but I'd protected it with my heart. And someday, my grandchildren would play on that dock, skip stones in that water, and learn what it means to have roots. Some things are worth more than money. Some places are worth protecting. And sometimes, the best way to love your children is to save them from their own mistakes. The cabin at Lake Harmony wasn't just a building. It was a promise that no matter what happened, no matter how far we drifted, we'd always have a place to come back to. A place where our story lived. And that promise, that was worth everything.